Okay, welcome everybody. It is fabulous to be with you tonight. And it's so cool to be with people from around the world. I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa. We're at the beginning of winter, and it looks like tomorrow is going to be our first kind of real winter's day. And I know other people are coming into summer. And wherever we are, it doesn't really matter because we can't do anything about the weather. So it's fabulous just to enjoy all of the different seasons in the year and to really appreciate the sun and the wind on our skin and to feel the chill and to feel the warmth and everything. It's such a delicious expression of sensuality and vitality and aliveness. And, you know, there's such a beautiful range of micro practices in Tantra and conscious sexuality. And one of those is the first time that you open the door in the morning to leave the house and to really feel whatever it is that's outside, to really feel that on your skin and to look around and to see whatever it is that you see, whether it's gray sky and rain, whether it's blue sky, whatever it is that's around you, just for one breath and really breathe that in, really see that, feel it. And it's just a moment of such an amazing intimacy and connection with life. So please close your eyes and let's drop into our bodies for a moment. So become aware of your heart center in the middle of your chest, deep in the middle of your chest. And if you'd like to put a hand on your heart to connect there, often that makes it easier to feel your heart. And take a breath in, a slow, deep breath in. And just have the awareness that as you're breathing in, you're breathing into your heart center. And as you breathe out, you're breathing out from your heart center. Slow, deep breaths into your heart and out. As deeply as you comfortably can. And with each breath, have the awareness of the texture of your heart, whatever that is right now for you. And have the awareness of the color of your heart, whatever color that is for you right now. And have the awareness of the shape of your heart, whatever shape that is for you right now. And have the awareness of the weight of your heart, whatever that is for you right now. And as you're breathing into your heart, become aware of the space that's in your heart center, the space that your heart fills. There's a beautiful line from an Indian poet from, I think about the 1500s. And to paraphrase a little, it's, we all know that the drop is in the ocean, but not all of us know that the ocean is in the drop. And within our hearts, within your heart, is the heart of life, the universal heart. And as you're breathing into your heart, the awareness of your heart, and the intimacy with your heart. Is your breath into the heart of life. And the intimacy with your heart is the intimacy with the heart of life. And as you breathe into your heart, and I breathe into my heart, we breathe into our heart. And in this moment, through our breath, through our awareness, we connect. So let your next breath be deeper and slower into your heart. And slowly, slowly breathe out. And slowly open your eyes. And it would be fabulous just for a moment to put your camera on and let's just say hi to everybody just for a moment, and then you can go back to being anonymous and sitting however it is that you're sitting just for a moment. Very cool, everybody. Of course, I remember you now, Aubrey, now that I see your face, but I remembered who you were, so that's fabulous. Very, very cool. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so if you want to keep your cameras on, please do. And if you want to put them off, that's fabulous. Anything that you are comfortable with. Okay, so we are talking tonight about making love with your hands. And I'm sure that there were some interesting thoughts as to what that actually means and what it's all about. And as I say that, and I was thinking about this before we started, I'm sure that there were thoughts about learning to actually make love to someone with your hands. And we do lots and lots of that, and especially in the massage lessons and workshops and experiences in so many different ways of touching. But tonight is about learning to make love and the experience of making love with your own hands, with yourself. And it's part of the bigger experience and the bigger picture of self-pleasuring, which is such a powerful and such an important range of experiences and practices. There is so much healing in our self-pleasuring. There is so much growth in our self-pleasuring, such amazing possibility of intimacy and of connecting with ourselves. And I recently did a series of self-pleasuring workshops, and it actually became so interesting in terms of there is so much to share in self-pleasuring, which is not about masturbation and it's not about an orgasm. And for most of us by now, we know how to do that, and we know how to do it pretty well, and we know how to get ourselves there nicely, gently, fabulously, amazingly, mind-blowingly, and have all sorts of sexual energy experiences with ourselves. And a lot of that is so genitally oriented. And very often we forget about the rest of our bodies, that we are sensual beings from the top of our head to the tips of our fingers and the ends of our toes and everything in between. And our bodies are this amazing, endless, limitless field of possibility, of sensation, of experience, of feeling, of intimacy, of emotion. So much is in our bodies. There's a song, I can hear it in my head. I don't remember who sings it, but the first line of it, or one line from it, is, "Your body is a wonderland." And our bodies truly are a wonderland. And they are this endless space of exploration and possibility. And we spend so much time focusing on our genitals, and our genitals are wonderful. They are so beautiful and so mysterious and so magical and offer such amazing pleasure and so much opportunity of exploration, and there's just so much that's there. And so is the rest of us. So is absolutely all of us. And when we spend time with our own bodies in so many ways, we create an amazing, delicious, and beautiful intimacy with ourselves. And this intimacy is about making love with ourselves and feeling loved and feeling acknowledged and feeling touched and feeling held and learning about ourselves. And, you know, I've been working in the field of conscious sexuality for 20, 25 years and teaching in the field. And so much of that has been exploring, and especially the last 2 years, not having had a lover, I've shared that a lot, of exploring myself and consciously choosing that to really go into my sexuality, my sensuality, into my body in a way that I haven't done for a long, long time. And the exploration is limitless, the sensations, the feelings. And as we go deeper, we find out how limitless our bodies actually are. And I write about this a lot because when we focus on orgasm, when we focus on our genitals, whether it's with ourselves, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with 5 partners, it doesn't really matter, however it is that you do it. But when we do that, and that becomes our focus, and it's really important to say this here so nobody gets upset about not having orgasm. Orgasms are fabulous. You can have all the orgasms you like. You can have so many different kinds of orgasm. If that's all that there is, we miss out on this limitless field of possibility. And as we go deeper into exploration, layers of sensation open and new sensations are revealed. New awareness comes to the surface. Parts of the body that weren't so sensitive before wake up and become more sensitive and more alive. Different parts of our body starts to respond and react in different emotional ways. And, you know, so much of my work is about healing, and healing means a lot of different things. And we hold so much in our bodies. It's been said that your biology is your biography. This is our story. Everything that's happened to us is here. And not only our lives, you know, we carry generational patterns, we carry tribal patterns, we carry religious patterns. So much of who we are is reflected in our bodies. Everything we've done, everything that's been done to us is in our bodies. This is the portal in to so much. And when we spend time with ourselves, we start to become aware of what sits where in our bodies. And the more intimacy we have with that, the more awareness we have of our bodies, the more aware we become of what it is that's inside of us. It becomes a way of releasing so much that's blocked there, so much that causes us pain, so much that limits us, so much that hurts us, so much that inhibits us, so much that keeps us trapped in repeating patterns. Because, let me digress for a moment. I talk a lot, and the framework of so much of my work is about the patterns that we live in. And the patterns are in our mind and in our bodies. And that's so important, because on any given day or night, regardless of what your mind wants to do, your body is going to do what it's been conditioned and patterned to do, simply over time. Things that are stressful, things that are traumatic get stuck here. Yeah, exactly like muscle memory. And that's how it starts. So an easy way to explain how some of the patterns in the body become set, especially around trauma, is is like this, and the concept of muscle memory is a great way to understand that. So if you watch a baby learning to eat, you give a baby the spoon goes all over, eventually the spoon goes in the food and the spoon go all over, and eventually the baby gets the spoon and the food in its mouth. Now we can eat, and we can have an intense conversation while we're eating, and we hardly look at what our hands are doing because we know the pattern of it so well. So everything that we do physically, and that includes sex, sensuality, pleasure, becomes part of a pattern. Like very often, the first time you have sex, it's awkward because you don't know what to do. Where does everything go? A while ago, I was sitting with some people who wanted to start exploring. It was a couple who wanted to start exploring, and they wanted to have an experience with another person, and they weren't too concerned if it was a man or if it was a woman. And they were asking, like, how does it work? Who does what? What do you do with all this? Because when you watch this, like in porn, you watch a threesome and it's choreographed, but everything just kind of flows and everybody knows what they're doing. And when we do something new, we learn, and we have to learn how to do that. It's like, I don't know, my phone's here. You get a new phone, you learn how everything on the phone works. And sometimes in the beginning, it's kind of clumsy, and it takes time for that for you to work out how to do that. You get a new car, you get new computer programs, and we keep learning how to do things. So our body does exactly the same thing. Now, when something happens that is stressful or traumatic, and this doesn't have to be major stress, it doesn't have to be a major traumatic or abuse experience, we contract when something is stressful to varying degrees. Subconscious contraction, because that's our defense, that's our protection. We don't release that contraction. It stays there. And the next time we do something similar, or we're in a similar situation, and it just has to be similar, because that's the way that our brain works, on similarities and comparison. And the brain keeps kind of making connections with what it's experienced before, because that's what we know. So if you taste something that you've never tasted before and you want to describe it, you'll say, it's like this. So it's a little bit like chicken, but it's got this and it's got that, and it's got different texture. So we use comparisons because that's how our brain works and that's what we understand. So next time we're in a similar situation that's stressful, we contract more. And we do that again, we do that again. And that's how a lot of the patterns get set in our body. So I'm working with a woman at the moment, it's a really good example, who's never had an orgasm before. She loves sex, and she enjoys sex. She enjoys such a wide range of sexual experiences. She's never had an orgasm. And a part of that is the patterning in her body that actually doesn't know how to do this. And the wisdom inside says, of course, you know how to do this because that's what we're born with. So when we start to release the patterns, when we start to release the blockages, and we start to expand what we experience, that's where having an orgasm becomes possible because it's there inside of us. So does that make sense to everybody? I'll explain that in a way that kind of makes sense. Yes, no, nod, say yes, type something in the chat box.
Yes.
Okay. So when we spend time with ourselves, when we make love with ourselves, when we explore our body, when we touch ourselves, we start to release some of these blockages and some of these patterns, often without being consciously aware of what it is that we're releasing, simply through connecting with ourselves. And in the connection, in the intimacy and the gentleness and the touch and the breath, so much gets released. And again, it's part of the framework that I work in, is that when we focus on the pain, whatever the pain might be, a physical pain, a mental pain, an emotional pain, a sexual pain, when we focus on the pain, all that we're doing often is we're getting into a contractive state, because all that we want to do is make the pain better, but the focus is the pain. When we focus on the idea of expansion, on the idea of possibility, We're saying that the pain is there. We're not ignoring it. We're not suppressing it. We're not repressing it. But we're saying that's not all that there is. So energy in our body needs to move. It needs to flow. It's like a river. If a river doesn't flow, behind where it gets blocked, the water gets dirty and nasty and full of mosquitoes and all sorts of junk builds up there. Those become the points of blockage in our lives. And often we don't know how to get past there. So we get to that point, we swirl around, we back off, we come back to the same point again. So we end up doing the same thing in relationship, attracting the same kind of partners, having the same kind of issues in relationship. And the extension of that is in life. We do exactly the same thing in every area of life. And when we start to say, there is not just one way that I can be in relationship. There are so many possibilities that I can bring to this. There are so many possibilities that I can bring to the pleasure experiences that I have. There are so many possibilities that I can bring to my spiritual practice and experience. And then we start to see that in this realm of possibility, so much can happen and so much can change. And in the space of connecting with ourselves, of creating that intimacy with ourselves, of loving ourselves, so much is released. And, you know, so many people come to a sexual journey, and the first part of that for so many people is looking for healing in some way. And if we stick around for a while, because sometimes the healing is not, I'm not saying that it's easy. And some of us have experienced enormous pain and enormous hurt. And that is not always easy. But if we stick around for a while, we find that sometimes the healing, the releasing, is just the first part of a journey. And if we stick around, then we start to become aware of possibility, of how much we can learn, of how much we can experience, of how deeply we can go into ourselves, into energy, into pleasure, into the connection with another, with life, with spirit. And every moment becomes this invitation to experience and to explore. And I've actually been working on a piece that says, maybe we need more lovers than healers. And it's simply the idea of saying that when we feel loved, when we feel heard, when we feel seen, when we are acknowledged, when we are held, the wisdom that's within us, our essence nature, the truth of who we are, releases so much in that space simply by being in that space with nothing else. So sometimes it's not so much the doing of healing, it's actually connecting with ourselves and creating that intimacy. And in a way, that becomes part of self-pleasuring. And pleasure is an amazing path of healing, an amazing path of growth, of learning and exploration. And for so long, we've been convinced that we learn through pain. And yes, we do. There's no question of that. Well, we do when we're conscious of that. Until we're conscious of it, we're not. And we'll keep doing the same thing again and again. And a lot of times, the pain gives us meaning until we can actually find a different way to live. And that's a really big topic all by itself. But we can learn through pleasure. We can learn through pleasure experiences with ourselves. Our sexual energy, our sensuality as an amazing path of learning and of exploration because of the intimacy that it creates with ourselves, because of the awareness of our bodies. And in that connection, in that touch, in the experience of sensuality, of pleasure that we have with ourselves, so much growth, so much learning, so much understanding can happen, and so much expansion. It also becomes a portal and a path to higher and different states of consciousness. And not only sexual energy, not only being in a sexual energy space for an hour, for 2 hours, like in an expanded orgasmic energy space that really fills your body with energy and is an amazing path to expanded states of consciousness. And there's even been, somebody wrote a PhD thesis on expanded energy orgasm as a viable path of high states of consciousness. And she looked at the definition of an altered and a higher state of consciousness and found that expanded energy orgasm fits every single one of those. So those of us, and I know some of the people on this call have been exploring these and having these experiences for years, and we understand how that sexual energy takes us to different spaces. But so does our sensuality. So does being in that really gentle space with our bodies. Even that breath we did a few minutes ago, simply the heart breath, really takes us deeply into our heart and into the universal heart. So our bodies are the most amazing, magical, mysterious field of possibility. Learning to make love with ourselves in so many different ways becomes a way into all of the things that we have been talking about. Okay. Good. So, having said all that, it's time to experience. And normally the webinars that we've been doing are a little bit longer, but tonight it might not be that long, but it's more about the experience. And we are going to experience a little bit of making love with our hands. So get comfortable in whatever way it is that you need to do that. And it's going to be helpful. You can keep your eyes open and you can keep your eyes closed. I'm going to talk you through things, and if every now and then you want to open your eyes and just see what it is that I'm doing, then do that. But do this in whatever way is going to be comfortable for you. So we'll have the experience, and then afterwards it'll be fabulous to share just a word or two about what you felt, what you experienced. So for a moment, after all of that listening, let's just get back into the body. So close your eyes just for a moment or two and take a breath in, a deep breath, and see if you can breathe into the very soles of your feet. Right down to the soles of your feet, and slowly breathe out. And just become aware of your body, of where you're sitting or where you're lying. And become aware of the weight of your body. And become aware of sensation you might feel anywhere in your body. And become aware of your breath moving in and out of your body, your chest, your belly, rising and gently relaxing. And take a breath in, a deep, deep breath. Slowly breathe out. And open your eyes and look at your hands. One hand. And look at the whole of your hand, the shape of your hand. And let your eyes travel really slowly from the crease of your wrist, up the curve on the outside of your palm, up onto your baby finger, and across the top of your finger, slowly. Look at the space between your baby finger and your ring finger. And let your eyes move up your ring finger. And look at the shape of your finger, the creases on each joint of your finger. And your middle finger, longer than the others. Your index finger, the creases, the shape. Space between your index finger and your thumb, and the shape of your thumb. The pad of flesh that's underneath your thumb, and your palm, the lines on your palm, and the shape of your hand. And if you turn your hand over and you look at the back of your hand, your knuckles, your nails, and again, let your eyes travel through every one of your fingers. Maybe you can see the veins through the skin on the back of your hand. And if you curl your fingers a little, you can see the tendons of your hand, just the awareness of what your hand looks like. And think about all that your hands do in the world. All of the things that your hands touch. Bringing the cup of tea, coffee, or glass of wine or water that you have to your lips. And your hands touching yourself, touching your lover, touching your children, touching friends. And can you feel, if you move your hand, can you feel slightly as your hand moves through the air, the sensation of the air on your hand? And then bring your hands close together, both hands up, so they're close together, not quite touching. So take a breath in. And as you breathe out, let your fingers and your palms relax to be as soft as they can. And start to move your hands in a circle, slow circle. Become aware of what you feel between your palms. A warmth, a tingling, something that's there. And then move your hands apart till you can just feel the edge of that, what's between them, wherever that is for you. And come back together. Just feel the edge of that energy. It feels like a magnet that attracts and repels at the same time. And then move one hand, so they're not touching, but move one hand all around and over the other. Like giving your hands, giving yourself an energy massage. And do the same thing with your other hand. And when your mind wanders, when your mind starts to go and get really busy, come back to breathing in and to breathing out, and to the sensation, the awareness of whatever it is that you're feeling right now. And hold your hands, again, not quite touching. And just for a second, close your eyes, and just be aware of what you're feeling in your body, in your heart, in your energy. Whatever it is that's there, just be with that feeling and take a breath in. Slowly breathe out and slowly open your eyes. This is one of my favorite things to do, to experience, to share with someone and to teach. It's called a bliss body massage. So in some of the schools of learning, we identify 5 different levels of our being. First is the physical body. There's the intellectual body. There's the emotional body. There's the spiritual body. And then there's the bliss body, which is the most subtle part of who we are. And it's interesting because one of the things that I have learned over time is that bliss and ecstasy are really subtle. It's not the fireworks that we often have been kind of convinced that they are. Subtle. And we touch the bliss body with the most subtle thing that we do, which is our breath. So there are 4 breaths in experiencing and touching the bliss body. So hold your hand close to your mouth. And the first breath is a gentle blow. The second breath is a harder blow. The third breath is a hot breath. And the fourth one, you attach your lips to the skin and it's an in-breath. And that's how we touch the bliss body. So with your eyes open or closed, really slowly, really gently, caress your hand with your breath. Your palm and your fingers, back of your hand, sides of your fingers, the spaces between your fingers, one hand, both hands. Slowly. The slower that you move, the more that you'll feel. And the slower that you move, the more your mind will slow down and the more you'll drop into that delicious presence in your body. And let your breath caress your hands. Slowly, slowly. Become aware of the different sensations and the different parts of your hand, different breath. And take a breath in. Slowly breathe out and hold your hand still and just become aware of feelings, the sensations, the energy in your heart, in your hands, in your body. Just feel yourself for a moment. So we began with our eyes and then the energy and then the breath. Now we begin to touch, and the first touch is just holding. So hold your little finger and the fingers of your other hand, gently, not squeezing. And after a moment of holding, you might feel the pulse of your little finger. If you don't, it doesn't matter. Just hold your finger. And then hold your next finger. Your ring finger. And your middle finger. Your index finger. Thumb. Your baby finger, your pinky on your other hand. And the next one. Middle finger. Index finger. And your thumb. And then bring your hands up so just your fingertips are touching. Just your fingertips. Very slowly, very gently, begin to make really small movements of just your fingertips against each other. Just your fingertips. And then take a breath in. And as you breathe out, let your fingers and your palms touch. And then slowly, gently begin to caress your hands. This is called sensual hands dancing. Fingers in your palms, back of your hands. In between your fingers. So again, the slower that you move, the more you'll feel. And the slower that you move, the more your mind will slow down. Beautiful dance of sensuality, touch. And bring your hands back to rest against each other, fingers and palms touching. Close your eyes. Take a breath in. Slowly breathe out and just feel. Feel everything that you're feeling. So from the touch, can we kiss our hand? To kiss your hands in gratitude. And think about how you can make love with your hands, with your mouth, to kiss, to lick. Your tongue so soft on your palm. Can you bite? Feel the sensation. And your finger. And how your mouth feels different for every finger. Just for a few moments, get lost in your hands. With your touch, with your mouth, with your breath. Any way that you like, any way that you can. So let your hands rest against each other. Take a breath in, deep, slow breath in. Slowly breathe out. And that's some beautiful time of making love with your hands.